The nation we will cover in today's guide, Malaya, is an economic powerhouse that is easily capable of obtaining obscene amounts of wealth. In this guide, we will focus on forming Malaya quickly, aggressively, and in an unorthodox way, so that we can play as a pirate republic and benefit from raiding coasts, electing competent rulers, and benefiting from a powerful mission tree. My name is AlzaboHD, and in the following video, join me as we uncover the spices of Malaya, with a step-by-step guide on how to play as the richest nation in EU4. Let's get started with our guide. Before we get into the specific strategy I used for this video guide, it is important to note that any Malayan cultured nation can form Malaya. The only requirement to form the nation is that you must own 3 provinces in Java, and all of the provinces in 2 of the following regions, either Borneo, the Malay Peninsula, and/or Sumatra. There are several large and powerful nations that are an obvious choice for this, including Malacca, which owns all of the Malay Peninsula, Brunei, which owns most of Borneo, and Pagararang, which starts on Sumatra with a gold-producing province. Other interesting options are also possible, such as Majapahit, which starts off Hindu with most of the required Javanese provinces, or even the 2-province nation of Madhya in the Philippines, which starts off as a Hindu republic and possesses the correct culture. For the purposes of this guide, though, we will throw caution to the wind and select the 2-province minor nation of Palembang on the peripheral edge of Sumatra. Although this choice might seem bizarre at first, Palembang can become a pirate republic within the first month of the game's start, which enables them to raid coasts to generate large amounts of ducats, benefit from Republican elections to ensure healthy monarch power regeneration, and even unlocks a far superior mission tree that puts the generic mission tree of Malaya and their constituent nations to shame. If you don't have the Golden Century DLC though, Palembang will likely not have access to the event that allows them to embrace piracy, and in this case I would recommend selecting one of the other choices mentioned above. For this guide though, we will be playing from the perspective of Palembang, so when y'all are ready to give them a click, start your game and let's move on to the next step of our guide. Once in-game, unpause and let a few days pass. The event, Piracy in Palembang, will fire with a mean time to happen of 1 month, assuming you have the Golden Century DLC. And once it does, we will select the option of Become a Pirate Republic. Now we should analyze our situation. We have various routes of expansion open to us, but for now we should focus on expanding southeastwards into Java. To accomplish this, you should start by building a spy network in Sunda, located across the strait to your south, while also looking around for suitable allies in the neighborhood. In this particular run, Pasai and Malacca were happy to ally me, but your run might be different, so make sure to make friends with the most powerful nation willing to watch your back. With that out of the way, you should fabricate claims in the provinces of Banten, Kalapa, and Pakuan across the strait in Java once your spy network in Sunda is large enough. These provinces are required to form Malaya, and we can rush them early on to get them out of the way. While waiting for these claims, it's a good idea to get your starting fleet to pirate the Malacca trade node. While they are going around the various sea lanes, you can order the ships to raid the coasts of every nation that you pass by, which will give you an invaluable amount of money and sailors to help subsidize your early game conquests. You can raid coasts every 10 years, and the distance and range required to raid is most likely linked to colony distance, so you will be limited at first in terms of who you can steal from. Once you've fabricated claims on Sunda and have an army of at least your force limit, it's time to move on to the next step of our guide. With Sundanese claims out of the way, it's time to declare war on them. If they have allies, as they did in this particular run-through, you can probably take care of them with your fleet to prevent them from landing in Sumatra. Regardless, go ahead and occupy their home provinces across the strait. If there are any allies in the war, occupy them after Sunda is neutralized and vassalize them if possible. After all, the more subjects and cores we have in Sumatra, Malaya, and Borneo, the better. During this war, I strongly recommend that you fabricate claims on Siak, the nation bordering you to your northwest on the home island of Sumatra. Once the war is over and your war score is high enough, it is absolutely crucial that you take at least the 3 provinces of Banten, Kalapa, and Pakuan. These provinces are required if we are to form Malaya and also possess coastal centers of trade for the Moluccas trade node, making them necessary for our strategy and a boon for our early game trading economy. With the war over, go ahead and fabricate claims on Siak if you haven't done so already. Once your claims are in place and you are at peace, it's time to move on to the next step of our guide. After claiming all of Siak's available provinces, declare on them and promise your allies territory to bring them into the war as well. The trick here is to rush and occupy as many provinces as possible before your other allies can swoop in and occupy it for themselves. At the same time, Siak is usually allied to another nation, In this case, Brunei and Pagarnuriang, but with your allies and your sizable pirate fleet, you should be able to easily outmatch their combined forces. During the war, I recommend fabricating claims on Majapahit on the island of Java, while also fabricating claims on one of your allies, since they will abandon you once you give them none of the promised land in your peace deal. Once you're ready, make peace with Siak and their friends once you can, and take some territory, optimally separate piecing their allies so that you can vassalize or annex their provinces as well, and ensure that you do not give any of your allies land since we want them to abandon their alliance with us anyways. Once a peace deal is signed, your former allies will hate you and will likely abandon you, but we don't care since pirates don't need friends. You can actually insult them to get them to drop their alliance even faster while also fulfilling the pirates' mission objective if you're feeling feisty. With rebel separatists appearing throughout your republic, your alliance crumbling, and your nation likely in debt, it's time to move on to the next step of our guide. Perhaps unsurprising for a state literally founded upon the ideals of piracy and criminality, your nation should now be feeling the strain of overextension, political isolation, and perhaps even debt. If your army is at force limit and at least 12,000 soldiers strong though, you should be able to take on any separatist rebels that appear, but it might be worth increasing province autonomy in rebellious provinces if you can't handle rebel stacks or if your manpower has been sapped in the previous war. Once your rebel problems are taken care of, it's important to remember to continue raiding coastlines, to regain your treasury and pay back your debts if they exist. While stabilizing the state and dealing with rebels, we should also be building a spy network in Majapahit, with the aim of fabricating a claim on the province of Demak and potentially their other provinces as well. When you and your army are ready, and your state is no longer falling apart to counter piratical forces, declare war on Majapahit with a war goal to conquer Demak. If Majapahit is allied to another nation, keep calm and blockade on, as your navy is by now likely large enough to prevent even the largest of Southeast Asian nations from landing troops on your island. Once your army has secured Demak and has occupied the Majapahit capital of Surabaya, you are ready to sign for peace. It is absolutely essential that you annex and core at least the province of Demak in this war, as this is the last required Javan province we need to form the nation of Malaya. Any other provinces are optional, although I'd recommend taking the provinces that lie between West Java and Demak so that you can move your troops without using boats and cogs. With Java taken care of, we can now focus all of our attention to the other required provinces needed to form Malaya. It's time to move on to the next step of our guide. In order to form Malaya, we now must make a choice between conquering Borneo or the Malayan Peninsula. Both have approximately equal amounts of development, but I personally recommend taking the peninsula, as the Borneo route would require you to own all of the provinces on the island, including the uncolonized lands that you would have to settle for yourself. Speaking of settling, once you are able to unlock your first idea, I'd strongly recommend picking exploration or expansion, as you will need to colonize the 2 empty provinces on Sumatra anyways before you are able to form the nation via decision. Regardless of which path you choose to expand into in the future, our goal now lies in conquering and uniting the island of Sumatra, which is the second to last region required to form our future nation. To this end, it's necessary that you begin fabricating claims on Pasai and Pagaruyang if you have not conquered them yet. Since they might have been the allies you betrayed in the past, you probably need to wait for their truce to expire before declaring war on them. Once your claims are in place and there are no truces, go ahead and declare war on either Pasai, Pagaruyang, or Siak as availability permits. If any of them have allies, you can separate peace them to gain even more territory from the peace deal, which is fantastic. Since you likely have no allies at this point, given your propensity to piss off your neighbors by raiding their coastline every 10 years, it is likely another nation will declare war on you mid-conflict if they sense that you are weak. In the case of my campaign, Malacca declared war on me midway through my war for Pasai, and if this happens to you, do not worry. Simply blockade the Straits of Malacca and prevent them from landing on Sumatra. If fighting on 2 fronts, sign a peace deal as fast as possible with the first war, in this case Pasai, so that you can focus on taking out the second enemy. If you're feeling crafty, you can at this point let the enemy land on your island and deal with your rebels, while you prevent them from getting home by blockading the strait. With them on your island, you are home free to occupy all of their land and fully annex them. Malacca overstepped their bounds in this example and ended up being fully annexed by me after they were stuck on Sumatra. If this happens to you, you now have all of the Malayan Peninsula provinces required to form Malaya, and only need to annex the rest of Sumatra. If this doesn't happen, don't worry. The priority remains to unite Sumatra, and you have time to take these provinces later. Let's move to the next step of our guide. Whether you were declared on or not, you should now have the majority of Sumatra under your control and possibly even the entirety of the Malayan Peninsula if you are lucky. Regardless of whether or not you have the Malayan Peninsula, your luck is about to wear out. Between the -100 opinion modifiers from raiding their coasts, along with the aggressive expansion explosion from your whirlwind conquests, it's assured that your neighbors and nations further afield will begin to form coalitions against you. At this point, you can choose to either fight these wars, where you will be massively outnumbered and have to rely on your navy to even the odds, or you can nip these coalitions in the bud by declaring war on the nations that hate you and preventing them from forming by keeping all of them on separate truce timers. No matter which option you choose, it's likely a coalition or two will fire at some point, and it's important to occupy the war leader's capital while also preventing nations from ferrying men to your islands via boat. With your navy large and growing, thanks in part to the large bonus pirate republics get to capturing ships, you can use your sailors and pirate marines to force the coalition war goal of superiority to your favor. Once you are able to successfully manage these coalitions, it's time to move on to the next step of our guide. After you are able to protect your realm from coalitions and stabilize the nation from rebel demands, it's time to take stock of our situation. The only region we have left at this point to conquer to form Malaya is Sumatra, along with possibly the Malaya Peninsula or Borneo if you have chosen that route instead. When your economy and manpower permit you to, go ahead and build your army up to force limit and prepare for war for the remaining territories. It's important to note that at this point, if you have any vassals in the required areas, like I do with Pagarayang in this recording, you must diplomatically annex them as they are required areas for Malaya's formation. You should also be careful not to raid the coasts of your subject states, which I did by accident, as the -100 opinion malice will make integrating your vassals take far longer than expected. Likewise, the 2 uncolonized provinces of southeast Sumatra must be owned, but not necessarily cores, of your nation, before you can tag swap. If you haven't already taken expansion or exploration ideas, it's crucial at this point that you do, but you can always send out temporary colonists to these locations, form Malaya, and then abandon the colonies afterwards as they do not need to be core provinces. I highly recommend during this period that you forcibly spawn the Renaissance Institution if you haven't done so already, by spending around 2,000 monarch power to develop a province of your choosing. Because your nation consists of an island archipelago, institution spread from your nation will be limited, allowing you to stay ahead in technology and curb stomp your unenlightened neighbors. Once you have conquered the rest of Sumatra, along with either the Malay Peninsula or Borneo, and once you have colonized either temporarily or permanently the 2 provinces of Sumatra, congratulations! You can now form Malaya and obtain the Spice Must Flow achievement, allowing you to serve up some pirate spice lattes to your rivals and obtain permanent claims to all of the Malayan archipelago. Let's move on to the final part of our guide. Now that the glorious purple flag of Malaya has been raised, it's time to decide on how to move forward. You will receive free and permanent claims across all of the lands you have not yet conquered in Sumatra, Borneo, and the Malayan Peninsula. This provides a logical next step to accomplish, as uniting the Spice Islands and taking full control of the Malacca and Moluccas trade nodes will make your nation the richest in the world. Furthermore, with access to colonization from either the expansion or exploration idea groups, you can now stake out provinces in the Philippines, Taiwan, and off of the coast of India to make ridiculous amounts of money. This is due to the fact that your raid coast ability is tied to distances between your closest core territory, allowing you to raid more and more nations the further out you colonize. Raiding the coasts of China and Japan is particularly lucrative, and can net you hundreds and thousands of ducats every 10 years until you decide to conquer them yourself and fully control the upstream trade nodes. You can, for example, easily destroy Ming and force an artificial Ming explosion from this point on, as fabricating a trade conflict with them and blockading all of their provinces will tank their mandate to 0 and cause separatist rebellions to tear apart their dynasty. In order to truly make Malayan millions, though, it's imperative that you conquer and control the trade nodes upstream from Malacca, such as Siam, Canton, Japan, and Jiren. With Asia under your control, and possibly even colonial nations in the Americas, trade will flow like wine into your treasury, and enable you to recruit mercenary hordes and massive pirate fleets to terrorize and cow the rest of the world into submission. If you're interested in seeing a time-lapse of a Malayan playthrough where I started as Majapahit and conquered all of Asia and the Americas, check out the video link at the top right of your screen. We've reached the end of the video, and I'd like to thank everyone for watching. A special shout out goes to my patrons on Patreon that support the channel on a regular basis. What EU4 videos would you like to see in the future? Let me know in the comment box below. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a like or a comment, as these will really help the channel grow. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.